Real Hustle podcast, hosted by Chris Kiblin. Real hustle, real people, real results.
What's up?
Hey.
You ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right. So today we have Andrea, who is one of the top, 1% now of realtors?
I am.
And now, is that in your company, or what is that part?
That's where it gets kind of iffy. I'm not quite sure. I think it's like in my company / in Florida, because you have to make a certain amount of volume in order to be like that. But
you're a top producer.
But I'm a top producer.
You're a top producer.
I mean, I show my numbers.
There you go. So before we get into your whole real estate career, because it's pretty fascinating what you've done, and I don't know if you know this, but like you are probably my top referrer for out of all the people I deal with. So you're kicking ass.
Yeah.
But let's kind of talk about it, because, you came from, before you got into the real estate world, you were a single mom trying to raise your daughter, doing everything you can. You had quite a bit of struggle before. So let's talk about before, because I always like to, when we do podcasts, I always like to talk about leading up to where the success came from, right? Because
the struggle before
the struggle, the backstory, right? Because everybody sees where you're at now, but they don't know where you came from. So kind of tell us a little bit about the history of you.
So I became a single mom at 23. I was bartending, going to school, working 2 jobs. Kind of dated guys that put me down and told me that I wasn't going to be anything but a bartender. And that's all I was, told I was going to be. So I used that as my fuel to figure out what I was going to do in life. And I first went to the hair route because my friend convinced me to do that. Did that for a little bit. But as a single mom, we all know that's after hours. I can't work after hours. So I still continued bartending. And then I just figured out, I've always been into trying to do stuff with the homes, and I really wanted to flip. That's honestly why I got into it. Now I'll tell you, heck no, I will not do that, because I see how the work, and I just can't do all that.
It's a lot of work to be
right,
a flipper.
And it's just time consuming and patience. And we all know, if you all know me, I don't have patience, so it wasn't for me. But that was my whole mindset of getting in the real estate. I just really wanted to flip. So I kind of went that route and did the test taking. And I will say, everyone thinks that the test's easy. I'm going to be the first to admit, and I'm embarrassed, but it is what it is. It took me 5 times to take that test.
Took you 5 times?
5 times.
Wow.
Just because I have a
test. You really have thrown it out there.
Yeah, test anxiety, man. It gets you every day. But it is what it is. I just didn't stop because I had a main focus of failure for my child, and I didn't want her to think oh, my mom stopped, so I'm going to stop. Right. So my thing was I had to keep going. So anyways, I went to take the test, passed it. And in order for me to take the next step, I was living in a great condo in Siesta Key. I was still bartending, making great money. I had to basically tell myself, how do I want to be successful and not had the bills out the butt, pretty much. So I downed myself down to a income-based apartment. Oh, wow. I'm very embarrassed to say that, but it is what it is. I had to do an income-based apartment because obviously as a bartender, you don't claim all your tips. Right. So it showed I make nothing. So I went to that, brought my daughter down there, and we had to do what we had to do. And I quit my job, lived off my savings for about almost a year. Wow. When you talk about used to money coming in and then going to your savings account, that it goes quick.
That's hard to do.
Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times I cried that year.
It's got to be stressful.
Yeah. Cried a lot. Ate at my mom's house. Couldn't afford food. So it was between living or food.
Wow.
And, I chose living. And so what I had to tell my daughter was we were going to visit Nana. So we went and ate dinner every single night at my parents' house. And, until I got my name out there. I will give a shout out to my broker that I first signed on with, because if it wasn't for him, I will say I probably would have quit. I cried in his office. I don't even know how many times. So thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
So is it a real struggle just trying to get started, or
yeah.
what?
And even when people, it's everyone always tried to tell me
you've been here forever, right?
Yeah. I graduated Lakewood Ranch High School in 03.
Right.
I went to Bradenton Middle Well, I moved down here in 6th grade in Braden River.
And just because you've been here, you know a lot of people, it doesn't still happen.
It's all about the trust.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big investment. Who's going to, you have to build that trust in order to someone be like, oh yeah, like I'm going to throw all my money at you and, to get me the house. If you don't know what you're doing, they're not going to, trust you. So I had to build all my connections. Even my good friend, I will say, they ended up buying with somebody else my first year because
I'm sure that hurt.
It did, but you know what? They use me all the time now, so I'm okay. They made up for it. But it's just it is what it is, and I didn't take heart to it because, and me, I would be the same way. Like that's how I am with anything I get done or do or whatever. Cars. Like I have to research people and see how their production is. So I didn't take offense, but yeah, it was a real struggle. I will say I cried a lot. My mom was there and told me not to give up. So first year was just basically, what's the word? What's the saying? Fake it till you make it?
Fake it till you make it.
100% faked it till I made it. I posted, every single day on social media, whether I had 10 million likes or not, which at that point I didn't have many followers, so I didn't care. I just had, posted just to post. Because once people start seeing you all the time, the first thing that's going to come up is you. Right. So I just posted about the market. I posted about the industry. I posted anything about housing, even family life, because, you have to
mix it in
there.
Exactly.
So anytime I did that and, I walked neighborhoods, I did posts on old school, because my first broker was very old school. So he's like, print out the post stamps or, the postcards and walk them to the neighborhoods. I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. So I had to go neighborhoods. And
so you did old school. You did
I
real
did
old school.
old school. I was taught old school. So he was a very good mentor. I would say I do use some of his things that he told me to do. And he always told me to post on social media. And that's the number one thing that I did. He did tell me to make videos, but I'm not
not the video girl.
person. No, I can't do it. Even though people try and tell me to do it, I'm not that person. So
I can tell you, social media in my business too is 100%. And what most people, and I'm trying to get this word out more and more, is if you're not using social media, you're losing out.
I mean, that's the number one question people ask me, like, how are you so busy still?
Right.
Well, even when the market's down, I can tell you that social media is the lifesaver. I mean, I went to bed one night and literally, actually just 2 weeks ago, woke up to, hey, I seen your page. I see you know how to deal with new construction. Can you help me and meet me tomorrow? And this was like Sunday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up to it at 7 o'clock, called that person and met them at 10 and got them under contract the next day.
Wow. Straight up hustler.
Straight hustler. But it was because of social media. I would have never known them. And they're the sweetest family ever. I mean, they just want the guidance. But you have to show what you do in order to,
Yeah, so many people don't use it. And that's why, I'm doing a big event coming up here in social media. And I have somebody coming in because, especially if you're scared of it, or if you're not used to it, or you don't understand it, what you're losing out on. And I don't care, it's one of those things is and I've probably said this 10 times in 10 other podcasts. Grant Cardone, which was one of my mentors, I went through his program. And he's like, if people don't know who you are, how can they do business with you?
Correct.
So if you're not posting it everywhere, I'm posting everywhere. I post on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I'm doing LinkedIn. I'm doing now I'm doing shorts on YouTube. There's so much out there. But all of a sudden you're just seeing it, right? And more people are seeing who you are. And and I try to stress this so much. Anybody who's in business, whether it's real estate or anything, it is so important that you use social media to your advantage. To be honest with you, I hate social media.
So do I. If I was not in this, I would never have. I never even got social media. I'll tell you. I'll give shout out to my friends, and I can't. I'm not going to name them because they're going to be like, whatever. But they got me on it. It was honestly because I was single, but they got me on it.
Oh.
On the dating sites, you have to have it. But that's how it got me on social media. And then I started using it for when I did hair. And then honestly, I only have it now because of my business. Otherwise,
it gets to be a little much nowadays because of all the stuff that's going on in the world with all if it's politics or it's this or it's that, and it's just so much negativity out there on social media, and I get tired of seeing it.
Correct. Now I just do the point. I'm just I'll post my stuff and get off, because otherwise I get depressed. It's things that's posted. I mean, it's sad about what's going on with the world today.
So like that's the thing. So like, I mean, but you still need it for what we do, and you still need it. So because the thing is like I can tell you now, I'm probably most of the people, and I do this too, is what they'll do is they'll go search your name, and they'll be like Andrea Malara, and then they'll be like, let me look her up real quick.
Oh, they do. All my clients tell me, they're like, we have to know who we're like. If they meet me the first time on a phone call, the wives 100% search for me.
Right. They'll go search you on Facebook. They'll go find out who you are. They want to know what kind of person you are, and they're going to look at your profile, and they're going to be like, okay, well, do I want to do business with this person?
That's 100% what they do.
You know, and the thing is
you want to know what though? I'm guilty of that because I do
it too.
the same thing.
I will do it too.
I do it to my clients because I'm like, okay, well, am I going to get killed today, or
for your safety reasons, right?
I have to go and search and see like what kind of people they are, and sometimes if I get leery, I have to like make sure I do my locations or whatever to my husband, or sometimes I make my husband come with me and pretend that he's like my partner. But I have to do what I need to do.
So you're dragging Greg around, huh?
He does. He's my open house partner. He hates it, but he loves the lifestyle. So
come on, Greg, you're coming with me.
Yeah, so he does come with me, but. Before that, I didn't have any of that, and I was a single woman, so I did have to 100% search them because I was afraid. My broker would actually come with me sometimes if I told him I was like, I don't know, I feel a little off on this, but I 100% am guilty.
I've done like I've had people that I've actually researched. Like I'll get a referral from a customer, and then I'll talk to them on the phone. I'll be like, their story, it doesn't sound right. So I'll start searching them, and I'll try to see if I can find them because there's something like I'm just not feeling comfortable with them for whatever reason. And I was like, this doesn't make sense or whatever it is. And so like I'll go research them.
I know. Well, that's how I found you. So, we became friends on social media.
That was the thing is like that's how we started working together as social media. But you know what? It's funny is actually a lot of my realtor partners that I met was through social media, and and it actually helped me build my name. And I was so against social media when I first started because I used to be the person that'd be like, no, I don't want any of my realtors to know what I'm doing. I don't want them to know I'm at the beach or I'm not working on their deal, right?
Because you have to lie, like I'm in a meeting, but you're really not in a meeting.
Or like I was like, you're away or something like that, and they'd be like, well, Chris, why aren't you working on my deal? Or like in my own mind, I was thinking, well, he can't have a life. He's got to be.
Here's a secret, Chris. You just don't post when you're away. No one will ever know.
So like I just kind of got to the point. Well, you know what? I don't care anymore. If you know me, you know that we still get stuff done. I still work on vacation. I still answer my phone. I still answer my emails.
I know I feel bad sometimes when I bother you, but it is what it is. I'm like, sorry, Chris. I know you're on vacation, but I need you to get this done.
Exactly.
I know. Well, a lot of it was, before it was everyone's like, oh, you're just bragging or you're this and that. And at first, it did get to my head, and I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm like throwing in people's faces, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I don't even give a crap. Like, I'm not throwing it in anyone's face that I'm.
But you should successful. Be proud of your success.
I'm just showing that, like, I am closing deals. This is why you should use me.
You're right.
And that's
and be proud of what you do.
And I am. I'm
right. You worked your ass off.
I came from the bottom, man. Like, that's a true success story,
So we got into the social media part, and then when you first started, so you really struggled for the first year. When did you start seeing some success?
Honestly, after they say the first year it's a struggle. But it is that because that's when you're really like, trying to build your name.
The first year,
you're really trying to build your name. So you're really not selling much, which I sold 1 or 2 deals. And I will say because those success stories were because I was on a dating app and they ended up using me as the real estate agent. So, hey, you know what? If they want to use me as a real estate agent to get a date, I got you. But that's what I had to, that's what I did. But that's my first year was really the struggle. And then the second year, it was a little easier because when people started using you, but you're still not like fully foot in the door. So I really didn't start seeing much success, honestly. So I started in 2016. I would say like probably 2018, I started like actually being able to like live and not live by like, oh my God, I can't because I don't know if I'm gonna have another closing.
Right.
But for me, it was just like having money or closing deals was like a success. So every year, people are like, oh, you're not really making money. But I'm like, no, but every year I went up in my, increase in my sales or, I didn't have like, oh, I need to be like the top producer in my third year. No, that wasn't me. I just was like, I just need to make at least, let's see, my first year I made maybe 25,000, 35.
Right.
I was like, I just need to make 40. I just need to make, I just want to take little steps. And, it helped me because I wasn't greedy. So it just helped me that way. And every year was like a stepping stone. So I would say about probably 2018 is where I actually started like closing and more on like the regular, and then it took off after that. So that was like what, 2.5 years.
Right. So, because that's the statistic out there. So they say that most real estate agents are out of the business within 3 years. You know, and especially, I forgot what the statistic was, but I think it's more than 50% are out within the first 3 years. I don't remember how many it was in the first year, but like usually when you have to pay your MLS dues, once that comes around again, and you're like, yeah, am I going to continue or am I going to stay in this? Because that's where the struggle comes from. It's like, because that's not cheap. I think it's like $1,500 bucks or something.
Today actually is my.
Well, I know
they're due today, but yeah, they're not cheap. And they come around the worst time of the year. Like they come around Christmas. I'm like, Merry Christmas to myself.
Right.
So every year on Christmas, and then there's another time in this. Like I think, what is it this time? So they come 2 times.
So is one of them for like Florida, or is one of them
No,
for...
so one of them's for the MLS, and then one of them's for your actual keep up for your license.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
you have to pay 2 of them, and then the one, I think, the MLS one is like usually around this time, and then the one for your license is Christmas time.
Christmas time.
So I'm like,
which one's more expensive, this time, or is it?
They're
about the same. It was like $1,500 or $2,000 or something.
No. Well, they break them up.
Okay.
So it's like 500 and something each time. Like this one's 600.
Okay.
So it's like around there. But still, like if you're not selling,
right?
For me as a single mom, that's a lot of $600 was a lot of money.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I have to bartend overtime, work full time. You know, like work a double shift.
So were you trying to work? Were you still trying to bartend?
No, I quit.
You
So
quit?
I did it 6 months, and then I told my mom, I was like, if I 100% want to pursue this, I literally have to quit my job. And she's like, can you do it? And I was like, I have no idea. And I was like, but I'm going to try. So I cold turkey cut everything off and just went full force, and probably regretted that day every day. But at the same time, like I don't, because now I see my life
back
now.
at it.
Yeah, but at the time I like.
That's the thing is like, I
did.
think what is tough on a lot of people is they don't realize you got to make it your full-time job. Like when I got in the mortgage business, when I came down here, and because I got in the mortgage business here in 2015, and I went straight in just like you. I struggled for the first 2 years. I mean, struggled like the trust factor, right? I didn't know anybody. See, I didn't know anybody when I moved here. When I moved from Maryland, so and it took me a while to get started. But it was like I had to go all in. I mean, the thing was we were eating ramen noodles if we were lucky. So, you know, and it was just the same type of story. But you either have to be all in or you can't. And you can't be a part-timer in this business. You know, the thing is because the problem is what you're going to run into, and even in my business, is when they need you, they need you.
That's what I'm saying. It's overpopulated right now with both of us.
Well, how many? There's 10,000 of you at RASM?
Yeah, and I work, and that's just in Sarasota.
Right.
I also work in Tampa, so there's another 10,000. So I'm like competing around like
20,000 people here, and there's so many like agents just in this small little area. You know?
I know. The reason why people get into it, they're like, oh, I want to be able to go to my kids' stuff. I want to be able to work my own schedule.
Right.
I want to be, and I can make all this money doing it. And I'm like, please let me know that secret, because
right.
I need that life. But I'm not. I work all the time, 24. I mean, I literally just worked on Mother's Day. I had to take a break when I got home, and I had to go and figure out, my client wanted to know something about a house, a neighborhood, so I had to go on the phone call and take a call. It never ends.
It doesn't end. Not in our business. It never ends.
No, that's why when people say that to me, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, let me know the secrets, because I really need to get on that level.
Because that's the thing is like, and what's the worst part about it, our business is that if you don't answer your phone, they're calling somebody else.
Correct. So it's either you got to be available all the time or
not.
You're not going to make it.
And that's the problem. And that's what people don't realize. Like when I have people like even talk to me about becoming a loan officer and want to do loans, I'm like, this isn't part-time. You can't be part-time. And the thing is like, and I know so many people, well, I just want to work Monday through Friday. It doesn't work.
Don't we all?
Right? I was like, what are you going to do when that customer calls you on a Saturday afternoon saying, I need a pre-approval letter to put an offer in right today because there's multiple offers. And they sit there and they're like, and they can't get a hold of you. Don't you think all of a sudden they're going to be calling somebody else, hey, I need a pre-approval letter today. Can you help me with that? Yeah. And that person, I tried calling you, Chris, but you weren't there. So I'm sorry. Sorry for your luck.
Yeah, I just got to another lender. Sorry about that. Yeah. I know. Well, that's how it is. Like, weekends for us, like, nobody work. I mean, that's when everyone's off. They're 100%
right.
Your weekends.
So you better be available. And it's tough on us. It's tough on our families. It could be a lot for us. But, I don't know if you had this conversation with Greg like I did with Debbie, but the thing is that I told her, I was like, this lifestyle that we want to build, I'm going to be working all the time. It's just the way it is. And
he really didn't have a choice because I was already doing this before.
Right. So when I went full on board working 7, I told her, I was like, I'm working 7 days a week. I mean, I'm probably gonna be working until the time I get out to the time I go to bed. I was like, because that's the way it needs to be done, or I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
I mean, now I see the success from it, and I have the success from it. But, back then, I mean, it was tough. It was like, because we didn't see the success, right?
No.
You're like, what the hell am I doing? I'm doing all this work and not making any money.
Yeah, I mean, I cried, but the only thing that kept me going, I'll say, is my daughter. I mean, I have another one now, but at the time, she's been with me through it all, and whether she wanted something, she always had whatever she wanted. If I had to go without, I went without. I didn't care, but as long as she had everything. But my thing was failure. I was not letting her know that like I failed in life, or I just wanted her to know that you don't need anybody. If you put your mind to it, you can be successful and you can get whatever you want. And she's down that path now, man.
That's
so
good.
I just wanted that was my goal, and that's my goal for my other one now, and that's just what I wanted to do.
It's funny. I was actually talking to somebody. It was a dad and a friend of mine, and he was telling me, he goes, Chris, I don't care. He goes, I want my daughters. I think he has 2 daughters. He's like, I just want my daughters to be able to take care of themselves and not have to rely on a man. So,
Yep, that's my goal. And my daughter 100%.
So that way, if that guy ever walked out, you can go, you know what? I can still go make it and not have to rely on somebody.
Yep. I mean, that's how it is in my household.
Yeah,
We pay half, and I always, I don't always say this, but whenever we, if it ever came to a point, I'd be like, all right, bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I can still take over the house payment,
right. You still cover everything. And, and that's the thing. It's like, you get to that point where you just want to be like self-sufficient, and it's like some people, a lot of people don't want to work. I mean, even though we have, 10,000 realtors in Sarasota and 10,000 realtors in Tampa.
Oh, I know. I deal with them. They were like, one of them just told me he wanted to golf.
But how many of them actually work, right? Or how much you want to do what we do, or work the way we want to work, or that's the thing. Is so what is that? Maybe 5%, 3% that actually do the majority of the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, there's that many people, and you are competing against. The problem is where you probably run into is, oh, my neighbor's a realtor, or my cousin's a realtor, and they do 1 transaction a year, if they're lucky.
Yeah. Well, little do people know is that us realtors can look at our numbers, and I 100% do. I stalk agents? Yes, I do. I 100%. I'm like, oh, let me see what they do. I'm like, oh, cool. Good luck with that. But you know what, though? I did have someone say that to me, and I was like, okay, I understand. Because, I would get that because I have family members and stuff like that. But they 100% came back.
What's funny is actually when you have to, and I'm going to be honest with you, I hate working with family members. They're the worst.
You guys, but for real.
I mean, it's like, it's hard. It's hard because the thing is like they know you, and so they think they can get away with more. And then as a customer, right, a customer or a client or whatever, they don't treat you as, Well,
they just like, they want to act. How do I put this without offending some of my family members?
You have a lot of family members here.
I do. I have a lot of friends and family members. They want to, they know you, and then they try and tell you how to do your job too. And I'm like, no, guys. Like, I'm in the business all the time. I get what you see or search or Google or whatever you want to tell me. Zillow, or your friend over here told you this. Right. But at the end of the day, like,
I do this for a living. This
is what I do. Do you want the quick results and the hot top dollar? I can get it for you, but you just have to listen. And then when their house sits and they're like, oh, well, why is it not, why is it sit in the market? Well, I'm pretty sure I told you what to do. You just chose not to do it. Right. And then as soon as they listen to me get down to where I told them, boom, it's gone.
Gone. So
it is what it is. You got to.
I know.
I just do it just so I can say, told you.
I love you, but told you. So, and then today, it was kind of a nice surprise. You got a big award today.
I did.
You want to talk about that?
The Emerald Elite.
Okay. So that's been a little bit of a...
16 million.
16 million last year?
By myself. No team, no nothing.
See, that's what I'm saying. Straight up hustler.
Straight up. Cost me my family time, but it is what it is, I told myself I'm going to do this now, so in 10 years I can slow down and not do it.
That's my biggest problem. I don't know if I can slow down.
I know. I
It's
say
hard.
that too. I love money so much. People tell me that all the
I
time.
was like, and the thing is like, I get people be like, well, you got to have that, that balance. I'm like, you don't understand my balance though. You just don't understand it. Like my balance is totally different than your balance.
my balance is extra.
Yeah, mine too. And I'm like, my balance is like, yeah, we don't have the same balance. You can't understand my balance because to me, this is what makes me happy. Like if this is crazy to say, but like, I'm not like working. Like it's stress relief for me. And
Yeah, if you do, I'm the same way. So if I have like a one down day, it like I'm like, okay,
it kills me.
What do I have to? Who do I need to call now? Like I'm the same way. I
had a bad Friday, right? So last Friday when I was away in Texas, I had a really bad Friday. I had like all these people, like I had 4 deals go south on me.
Oh my God, I would have drank.
And I just had a terrible Friday. Because the market right now, especially right now, is so competitive. And so like, of course, they're getting phone calls from other lenders. And I had 2 of them just say they didn't want the house anymore. One said they didn't want the house, and the other one didn't want it either. So they both backed out of their deals. The other 2 told me they were going with different lenders. On Monday, I was actually able to save them. So they came back to me on Monday.
Oh, nice.
And so
still,
but
on your vacation,
right? I was like, could anything? I'm like, I'm not there. I can't control it. I was like, and like so, like and I'm trying to spend time with my son, which I barely have seen in the last 3 years. And so like I was like, we went to. It's the first time he's been gone since 2015. That was the first time I've ever gone to his house since 2015. Like that's how hard it's been to see him. And because we had COVID and everything else. So like I was trying to spend as much time as I could with him, but I was on the phone the whole time on that Friday. And I was just so frustrated. But then I was like, all right, I need to get over it. I need to.
That's why I tell people, sometimes that's how come we become alcoholics. When the deals go,
it's tough. And it's tough in this market because everything that right now I'm fighting for. And I've never had to go, I've been doing this since 2010. And I've never experienced anything like this.
Yeah.
And it's a different market because what people don't realize is like they don't realize there is very little inventory for resale. And I can't compete with builders, and I'll be honest with you. Builders are giving you 30, 40 or whatever it is, that big old incentive.
50,
whatever the amount that they're giving you, I can't compete with.
They're doing it because they're trying to do the buy down rate too.
Yeah. So they're doing all this stuff, so I can't compete with builders right now. So the only thing I can compete with is resale. And the thing is there's so little resale and so many people buying resale right now.
Well, and the thing is with resale, they're. I mean, we all know that prices have gone
extremely
so much
high.
And what you're getting for it on the resale side, you might as well just get a new build because you're buying this house and you got to do work to it, and you're still paying like $400,000 for it, and then you can go to a new build and you can get a brand new home,
right,
and get closing costs paid for. So it's
right.
it's
hard.
What are you going to do?
And that's exactly what happened to one of my clients. They decided they didn't want this house anymore. They're going new construction, and they were giving them like 20 or 30 grand. Yep. So that's where the frustration comes from because you can't compete with those. But then it all turned around. I got another contract on Monday. I saved the 2 deals. I got another one in. So I'm waiting for another one to come in.
It's an up and down battle.
It is. And right now it's just extremely frustrating, and it's like, I've never seen anything like this before because of the way the market, high interest rates and
high dollar houses, high interest rates.
And there's a lot of people that are also just sitting there, right? And that's the thing, because the rates are so high, you're having people who are in a 2 or a 3 or a 4, and they're like, well, I'm not going to a 6 or a 7. That doesn't make any sense for me to sell right now. So that's why we have such low inventory right now. So that's part of the issue is they don't want to sell their houses because they don't want to go to a higher one unless they have to.
Right.
So, and then the other thing is a lot of my clients that I am getting, they're challenging. So they're challenging. So and it's because, whatever the reason may be. So because it's not your typical person who is just 800 credit score, 20% down, nice and easy.
You're dealing with the COVID situation. They're trying to get out of the COVID situation. I have a lot of clients that do that. They're like, I was good until COVID came, and then I, racked up my credit card so I can try and even survive. And I'm like, that's where I say, sorry, Call Chris to fix your credit.
Chris will help you with that.
Let me slide you right into the other guy.
So,
but yeah, I mean, that's just that's another thing. People always just like, oh, it's so easy. And I'm just like, it's the challenge. I mean, I was dealing with one of them that's, dealing with divorce. Another big thing people don't understand. If you aren't divorced, if you're married, you need to be divorced before you buy a house. Because so many people think, oh, I'm separated. We've been separated for like 10 years. Cool. If your husband's not cool or wife, you're not buying a house because they have to sign. Yes, they have to sign. I've dealt with that deals like on 3 of them, and now my question, and it's probably so rude, and people probably get offended by it, but now my question is, are you married? If you are you planning on getting divorced? Like, that's my question now. I have to ask, because otherwise I just waste my time.
Waste your time. And the thing is what they don't realize, because Florida is a special state, so they don't realize that once you go to closing, you can still get that mortgage, but now here's the thing though, as long as it's only if it's your primary residence.
Right.
So if you're buying a primary home, right? But if you're buying a second home or you're buying an investment property, then you don't need their signature.
Right, but then you have higher interest rates, and most of them do not want that.
No, so that's the problem with it right now, right? So you're buying a primary, they have to go sign, and then they have to figure out, okay, well, and the problem is most of them are bad marriages that end.
Right. So
they don't talk to each other. They don't want to talk to each other. They're like, I'm not signing crap.
That's why they didn't get the divorce.
Right.
Like, I mean, he won't. I know.
And I ask questions, and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I have a guy now, and he just called me, and he's like, hey, I'm getting separated from my wife. I want to buy a house. She's going to take the old house. I was like, so are you divorced? And he's like, no. He goes, I was like, do you have a separation agreement? No. I was like, okay, here's the deal.
Is she willing? Make an agreement then. He's
like,
you're not getting out of that house then until she signs this. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want something from me, I'm going to get something from you. But most of the time, it doesn't work out.
So I told him it has to be very, she okay signing. And they say, and I go, oh, yeah, she'll sign. And then we get a closing, and then they're like, oh, she won't sign anymore. I'm like, it was like,
I know. And then it's like all the time and energy in it, and you're like, because people, you don't get paid unless it closes. So it's all that time and work
and
for free.
But that's the other frustrating part. Like, it's like we do a lot of work, especially in my world. I do a lot of work, and then like I've had clients that I worked with for 6 months to a year, and help them rebuild their credit. And then all of a sudden they go to a builder, and I'm like, are you effing kidding me?
I know. I'm guilty of sending people like that to you. I've had that.
So it's like, and we were like, we sit there, we help them figure out how to get approved.
I know.
And then all of a sudden the builder will be like, hey, we want you. you know?
I know.
But the thing is like, and I get upset first, but then at the same time I understand, it's like, look, somebody's offering me $20,000 and a certain interest rate or something like that.
Then you have to think that's where your reputation goes, because maybe they were, but then they're going to refer their people and be like, you know what?
Well, I'm going to get them on the refinance. That's how I look at it.
That too. And
so like, because eventually rates are going to come down, right? So if you're locking in and you're in the, in the 6s or the 7s or in the 5s or wherever you're at, and they get back into the 4s, you're going to refinance. And they're going to be like, Chris, I'm coming back to refinance.
Right.
So that's where I look at it from that standpoint, just making sure that I stay in touch with them. Because at some point they are going to come back down, and then they're going to want to refinance. So I'll get it that way.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm the same way with my job. I'm just like, someone's like, oh, sorry, it's only a $250,000 deal. I'm like, I don't care. Money is money to me. Like, I mean, obviously, they see you now doing good, so they're like, oh, sorry about that. I'm like, no, I will still take that check. Like, don't be telling me no sorry. Like, don't be taking that away from me.
I get that call, too. I was like, I had some, it's like a baby loan, or like it's like $130,000. I was like, I don't care. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm helping you get into the house that you want, right?
That's really what it is, too.
And I mean, I don't... First of all, I want to help you, but also I don't care. Money is money, you know. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a $100,000 deal or $1 million deal. I mean, and I don't treat anybody any different. I don't care if you're buying $1 million house or a $100,000 house. I'm going to treat you the same. So, like, it's just, that's just what you are. I mean, because it could be $1 million house and they're putting $900,000 down too.
Right.
So it's a $100,000 loan, but I don't care, because the thing is at the end of the day, that's my job and that's what I'm paid to do.
Well, at the end of the day, it's like people all work hard to get, and that's their success is to buy a house. So for me, I'm like, man, if a 2-1 600 square foot, it makes you happy, like, I did my job, and I'm so happy that you now get to live your life, and I'll come and visit you and grab drinks.
I always got to have the drinks.
Always have to have the drinks in this business.
So let me ask you. So if you had, what advice would you give a brand new agent trying to get in the market now?
Oh,
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I know. I don't know. I mean, times have changed since I would say do the same thing I did, but I don't know if you can.
I don't know if you can do that anymore.
I don't know if I can do it, because that's what I was just talking to my husband about. I don't know if I would be able to even afford rent because of rent situation. All I would say is probably they do have to have another job. They would have to, but they'd have to make sure that their job is flexible. I would probably get a night job. Honestly, I would probably get a night job. That way you have available all during the day, because they do call. When you think you have a day off, nope, you don't. Because I always think I have a day off and I plan something and I'm like, well, as you know, I had to cancel on you because I had a client that needed to
I know.
you home.
You were supposed to do this before.
Yeah, so I had to cancel on you. Sorry, man. Money's before a podcast. But yeah, you just have to make sure you're always available, because they will call, and once they call, you got to go. So I'd probably have a night job.
One of the other things I think is, if you can do it, like you said, is have try to have a savings, like a 6-month reserves or something like that.
But it does go quick. So
it goes quick. Oh no, I know. I mean, I went through mine pretty fast.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. And you're like, okay, well, the rent's this, the car payment's this. Okay, I ain't buying nothing. You know, and you're like looking at, okay, what can I buy for food? You know, because like, I mean, you know, and that's the tough part. And because even when I go back looking at what I had to do, like, try to, you know, I think it's also if this is the case, right? Maybe you have a spouse too that it can cover you for a little bit, right? And you can live off kind of what they are. It might be tight until you get up and running, right? But we all know real estate's not easy. I mean, because the thing is, well, most people think it's easy. They don't know the real thing.
Once they get in it, then they realize.
Well, once they get into it, it's a whole different world, and that's why most of them drop out. Same thing with loan.
What is it? 50% stay, 50% go. I don't even know
It's not a lot.
I don't know what it is anymore.
But but that's the thing. So they don't realize the time and the effort it takes to really build a business, right? They say, "Well, I'm going to go sell $1 million houses," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure you are."
Sell $1 million house until, honestly, last year.
Really? I didn't know that.
No one knows that, because I don't put any of my prices on there, because, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it took me, I mean, it just gets, when you get to those bracket of homeowners, they are very, like, you have to earn their trust, because obviously that's a big investment for them. So if you're, you know, and they interview the crap out of you, and, you know, sometimes they make you feel this big, and I'm just like, oh my God, you know, but they, you just have to struggle on that. And I mean, some people are lucky enough, like, you know, their family members or whatever, and they, you know, oh, I sold my first $1 million, like, in the first year. I'm like, oh, cool, that just doesn't happen.
No.
Like, that's a fairy tale. Like, you're Cinderella, congratulations. But in real life, like, yeah, I didn't sell my first one until last year.
That's kind of crazy. How long you been in the business, and it's first year, first one. So now are you selling a bunch of them?
I mean, I do have a little bit more.
There you go.
I did sell some this year.
So what's the goal now? Because, like, okay, so you just closed 16. You trying to do 20 this year? Or?
I am. I'm trying to do at least 20. I'm going small and steady, right? The tortoise, they win, right? I'm not trying to be a rabbit. I'm just trying to go up the ladder one step at a time, and that for me is success. Like,
but that's the thing is, like, I mean, I think I saw a stat that I think the average realtor only, like, if you average everybody, is like maybe 2 or 3 million a year is the average realtor. So I mean, you're way up
what
there.
Is that like? I think that it's like a $50,000 a year.
But that's the problem, right? I mean, you know, you're making $50,000 a year, right? So for a lot of work.
Well, for that, I'm gonna go to Starbucks, and I'll make just as and less stressful. I'll do coffees all day,
right?
But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm saying that's for some people that's okay, but for me, I'm just a different breed. I get told all the time.
Well,
I'm extra.
Well, that's the thing. That's part of the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast, because, like, I know how you are with your clients, and how much time you put up in, you know, with your clients, and how you always work. Like, you're always working.
Always.
You know, always, because I'm always getting calls from you all the time. You'd be like, Chris, yeah, I know I talked to you 3 times yesterday. Yeah, okay. But I have another issue. I need this answered. And so, like, that's the thing is, like, you know, and it's refreshing, because the thing is like, you know, and why I do the podcast is because if you want it bad enough, you'll get it, right? You know, and I think so many people are okay living an average life, right? But in that particular world, if you want to be a real estate agent or if you want to get into that market, you got to bust your ass and you got to work hard to build it.
Yeah.
And and the thing is like it's not easy. But once you get to that point and you can start living off of all the referrals and you can start getting those referrals in, but even then you're still busting your ass because you're taking somebody out to look at 10 homes and that might be in a day.
I took 20 one time, just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. So like
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And then the worst part is like, okay, I didn't like any of them.
Yeah. So we did 20 the other day.
Yeah. And
then wanted to hear the kicker? Boom, boom, boom. That's the one that told me that they ended up being married. We were under contract after showing them 40 homes in 2 days.
Are you serious?
Yep, we had to wait. So I did. That's what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand. Like, that's the struggle in this. Like, but it's and I told her, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. When she was a single mom too, and so she was all happy, but she didn't understand that. She started crying, unfortunately, which I felt so horrible for her. But I told her, I was like, when you get that divorce paper, you come back to me, and I will get you back into a house. So, but.
All right.
2 days free work. Most people won't do that.
That's a lot of showings. That's a lot of gas money.
Going under contract, we did an inspection, everything up into the appraisal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was like, I think I was in that deal for because we had a 45-day close. I think it was about almost 3.5 weeks. I was almost 4 weeks
of your time. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that sucks because you put all that time into it, and then you're like, okay, and it's nothing because that's and that's the thing. What I think most people don't realize, and for anybody who's listening to the podcast. Real estate agents, mortgage brokers, we don't get paid unless your deal closes. Mm-hmm. There's no hourly rate. There's no salary. Most people don't realize it because like a lot of people think that I get paid. And I'm like, no, I get nothing. I was like, I'm a commissioned job. That's what I do. Yep. And because they're like, well, you don't get it because I'd be like, oh, because they're like, if they're going somewhere else or something happened or whatever it is, and it's like, okay, and I mean, I had one guy that I actually beat his deal, but because it was like a friend of a friend or something like that, they still went with them. And I was like, first of all, I'm giving you a better deal. And I was like, and you're still going, well, he's like, I want to give him the business. And I'm like, it made no sense. I was like, and I had to tell him, I was like, you do realize I get nothing for, with you out your closing. And I mean, and I'm doing better than the other person. But I think so many people think that they don't think about it. They think that we just get it paid, and and it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
I know. Well,
but it's part of the business.
It's part of the business, and that's why it's like that's the struggle is because you don't get paid. So like all your time, all your energy. I mean, what people also don't understand is we don't get health insurance. Nope. We don't get any of our. Anything like we don't. We pay out of pocket for everything. Like
your Social Security, you got to pay double because if you work for a company, they usually cover half.
Yeah, so we pay for that. I mean, we pay for marketing.
Yep.
That comes out of pocket. We pay. I mean, everything we pay for. So like people think that our big large sum. They're like, oh, don't worry, you get a large sum. No, see, we also break that. If you work for a broker, that gets some to the broker.
Right.
Then you pay back. Getting reimbursed all the money that you put out for the marketing for for the new listing or any
signs,
of that stuff
hang
or
up signs
or
everything.
any of it, and people just think that's like handed to you. I'm like, no, that's legit my money.
Right. Like that you pay for up front.
Yeah, like so if you think about it, that large check,
right,
windows down real quick and goes back to like the average. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of people just don't understand that. They just think that like you just make money and that's the end of it. And it's like no,
get this nice big check. And
yeah, I'm like no.
My gas time, all the gas that I spent to come back here.
It's like basically a reimbursing. Like you're putting up the money first and then you get reimbursed it. But
exactly.
No one.
And then if it doesn't sell or if they don't buy something, I mean, so there's all that time and effort.
I know.
It's tough.
It's tough, but you know what? I do love my job because at the end of the day, like I meet a lot of people, so that's the positive part of it. I mean, a lot of people all over the world, and then also like seeing people. Especially, I love helping single moms. So obviously, we know I have a heart for that. But when I have a single mom, I do my darn hardest to get them into a house because I'm like, you know what? Yeah. You did it. Like high five. Like, don't need anyone else. You guys did it. But so that's my big goal is like. when I start getting this, or when I get people that like say like, oh, I don't know if I can buy a house. I'm like, all right, this is a challenge, and I like challenges. So I'm like, I'm getting you in a house.
Right.
Like, let's figure out. I don't care if it's.
But you know what's funny about you
6.
is because I've noticed that about you is you will find them something. If there's a way, you'll find it.
I will do it.
Because I mean, I don't think we've ever come across somebody that where we haven't worked together. You don't find them something like it's like a challenge. It is a challenge to you.
I know, and
I like it's
it.
like, and you were like, yep, found one for him, Chris. I got him under contract. I'm like, how the hell did you do that?
Because it's I don't know, maybe it's because like, you know, my younger years where people just say I can't do it, and it's just still in my head. Like I told you, it's like that haterade that I drink. I purposely drink that so I can get myself going. So when people say I can't do something, I'm like, ugh, all right, this is the challenge in my life. I'm gonna do it.
And you always find it, because like, I mean, you surprise me so many times when we sit there and we talk, and you're like, all right, yeah, this one's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna make it work.
Yep, I know.
We've had a lot of those conversations.
I know. Well, it's my challenge. It's like it's my reward in this business, to be honest with you. So that's why I do it.
So now, is most of your business now all referral business?
Referral
Referrals.
And social media.
Social media. You still getting a lot from social media too. On top of that.
Yep.
Good.
Can't complain. Just
keep going.
I can show my daughter, you know, just keep. Now she just doesn't want to get married or anything until 30. Like, yes, winning. But yeah, she wants to, you know, go to Harvard and all that stuff. So I'm like, all right,
let's go.
Make sure you get a full scholarship so I don't have to work extra.
Right.
But
now you need to close $32 million.
I know. Now I'm like, but yeah, that's you know, prime example for her. I still have a little bit of ways for this second child, so I'm okay with that.
Anything else you want to add to the real estate world out there?
No, just hustle, man. Hustle. It'll happen. I get that all the time. People always ask me.
So what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell phone.
Cell phone? You want to give out your number?
I don't know. Who's listening on here?
Everybody.
I mean, they can find me. So. Just Google. Back in the day, I used to always say Google me, and I was never found. Now you can actually Google me, and I'll be found. So. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they can find me.
Yep.
Search
social
Andrea.
Media.
Yep, social media. Well, they had to find me under Andrea Malara Ortego these days.
Yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting. I know.
Married, I know.
Sorry, Greg.
Sorry, Greg. No.
I keep calling you. Because I always call you Andrea
Everyone
Malara.
does. They always call me my maiden name. I'm like, or they just now when they advertise me, they're like, it's only Andrea Malara. I'm like, no, you have to hyphen that.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you start the business single, you know?
I know. Cool. Well, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Appreciate.
You can help support our podcast by checking out our Real Hustle gear. We have t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, hats, and more. Let everyone know that you're a real hustler, willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. You can check us out right now on realhustle.com. And right now, we are offering all of our listeners 10% off when you use the promo code PODCAST at checkout. Once again, that is PODCAST to receive 10% off your entire order.